tremendous looking trophy.
Welcome to Platinum Explosion, #1 PlayStation podcast in the Oceanias. My name's Dylan Below. Joining me, Ashley Hobley.
Hey Dylan, excited to be here to talk about all the things that happened after we posted last week.
Yep.
Which I guess is technically every week, but more so this week.
Mostly this week. So jumping straight into the trophy cabinet, a bronze trophy for the internet's efforts in trying to make Batman happen last week, us included. A silver trophy for Sony's continued efforts to try and make an Uncharted movie happen. It's never going to happen. A gold trophy for continued efforts by Sony to keep putting State of Plays on at the wrong time for the #1 PlayStation podcast in the Oceanias. And then the platinum.
Why are you rewarding them?
I don't know. And then the platinum, we're going to talk about State of Play. I thought my whole trophy cabinet this week was a meme. Really, I thought it was quite funny. You know.
Okay.
For the continued efforts, and now, of course, if you listened to Arcade Couch last week, Ash and Kieran talked about Last of Us and a couple other bits and bobs at the State of Play. I guess we're going to cover everything a bit more full in this.
In depth, with proper opinions.
Yeah. I mean, you didn't go over everything, and there was a lot of stuff, you know. Well, anyway, we're going to talk about it. I mean, yeah, we'll get to that. So it's basically just going to be catching up on State of Play, because obviously that's the biggest thing, and the biggest thing from State of Play, obviously you would know by now, because it's literally nearly a week later, 6 days later. It's Last of Us release date, trailer, all that stuff. So we're talking about that, of course. But just a couple things before then to go over, as I just mentioned, namely the Uncharted thing. So this comes from, where's this come from? PlayStationLifestyle.net. Tom Holland Uncharted movie gets yet another director. So Dan Trachtenberg, who originally signed on, and I believe most people were pretty excited about, you know, it's like old mate Dan. He seems like a good choice for this.
Yeah.
He
fellow gamer.
Yeah, he dropped off. So this time, Sony Pictures is bringing in Travis Knight. He is known for directing the Transformers spin-off Bumblebee, along with Kubo and the Two Strings. Knight originally started out as an animator with films like Coraline, The Box Trolls, and Paranorman under his belt. As it stands, the film is still scheduled to debut on December 18th, 2020. That's a very fast-tracked schedule for what will be a blockbuster film, presumably with quite a high budget, and they're still trying to get it out late next year. I think they're insane, and it's never going to come out late next year.
No, it's not going to come out that date.
How do you feel about old mate Travis Knight over here directing?
I mean, good for Travis Knight. He obviously started off in animation doing stuff for what's that studio called?
I can't remember that. The Coraline Studio.
Yeah,
I can't remember either, actually.
It's bad. But yeah, he obviously directed Kubo and the Two Strings, was a good movie. He did Bumblebee last year, which was very successful, so it makes sense that they go after him, I guess. But this film is in development hell, so.
Yeah, I don't believe it's going to happen.
I'm trying to look up how many directors they've had so far. First they had David O. Russell, then Seth Gordon, then Neil Berger, then Joe Carnahan,
4,
Sean Levy,
5.
Yeah. Now then Dan Trachtenberg, now Travis Knight. So that's
on to our 7th.
6, 7.
Yeah.
So, that's always a good sign.
Always a great time. You know, I believe all the good movies go through
multiple directors. Yeah.
At least 5 directors before production. It's just a sign that they're trying to find the right one.
Yeah, it's like how many writers are attached to a film. It's like if it's more than 6 or 7, it's going to be good.
Yeah, like when you look in a film's writing credits and you see about 20 writers, that's because all of them love the movie and needed to be a part of it.
Vision.
And had a clear vision, not because it went through heaps of rewrites. No, that's silly. That's ridiculous. It's definitely a very good sign. So Uncharted movie, cool. I mean, I want to watch the Bumblebee movie, and it's been on my I'll watch it eventually sometime soon list for some time, because as much as I don't like the Transformers movies, I actually liked the trailer for the Bumblebee movie, and I thought I'd give it a go because it wasn't actually Michael Bay. So now that he signed on to this, I guess that gives me even more of a reason to watch that, because that is his first live action movie.
Yeah.
That would be the closest thing you could watch as like proof of pudding for the Uncharted movie, I guess, would be to watch that.
Yeah.
Okay, then
Leica. That's the company. Sorry.
What's it called?
Leica.
Oh, yeah. Quick other little tidbit here is that 3 new games are getting added to the PlayStation Hits range. Of course, these are titles that get, what's it in Australia? $24.99, I think, is the RRP here in Australia for these titles. So what's being added is Gran Turismo Sport, Uncharted, fuck, what's it called? The Lost Legacy. I was mental blank there for a second. And God of War is being added to that as well. So you'll be able to pick up all 3 of these titles. JB, EB, wherever you want to go, under the PlayStation Hits range. Bargain titles there for you, which is good because I still haven't played Uncharted: The Lost Legacy. So I kept expecting it. Like I'm like PS Plus one day, fuck it, whatever. And it never really dropped that low, but now that it's on the PlayStation Hits, right?
Well, to be fair, it wasn't like a full price game to start off with.
It was still like $60 or something,
Yeah.
Yeah, and in case you're missing why I didn't
and
play
worth
that.
every penny.
my quick story, in case no one knows why I never played that, is because I edited a fucking review discussion back in the day, and it was a spoiler review discussion, and I got the whole plot spoiled for me editing that, and I was like, whatever, I'll wait a couple months until my brain's like
forgotten,
cycled out enough of the information that I'll be able to enjoy the thing, and then it never ended up happening. Now here we are.
Maybe now. I'm surprised God of War's dropped.
Well, they have to sell a certain amount of
year and a half.
copies or whatever it is. I can't remember the exact amount off the top of my head, but that's the whole thing. It's like PlayStation Hits range. They have to have sold X amount of copies, and then they can get on the Hits range.
I mean, they could still hold off for like another 12 months or something.
I guess it just goes to show that they've already sold so much that they don't even, they're like, people who are going to buy God of War have probably already bought God of War. So talking about Gran Turismo in that list there, I thought this was I don't really care about this, and I would assume that you don't really care either, but I thought it was quite an interesting story just because it's like the world we live in these days. So it's a PlayStation Lifestyle writes, the new version of Gran Turismo Sport titled Spec 2 will race onto store shelves this October. A new version of Gran Turismo Sport Spec 2, what a fucking mouthful, will be arriving on October 4th, 2019. It'll shove most of the game's content into one convenient package. You'll get the 1.39 version of the game on the disc with nearly 300 cars, 75 circuits with some extra in-game goodies. Spec 2 may be great for those who have slow internet or no internet at all, since most of its content is available on disc. Alternatively, Spec 2 will be available digitally as well. It'll cost around $30 American. And you will get 2.5 million credits along with 10 GR.3 cars, and there's a whole list of them here. It says it won't contain 100% of GT Sports content so far, so it's not going to have all the DLC, but it's going to pack in like all of the free DLC, all of the mandatory updates that have happened over the last couple of years for that game. And I think that's, I think this is a good move because it's often for these games that have like long life cycles, you know what I mean? Where they get so many updates and these things. Like if you go to purchase any of these games of service or a game like Gran Turismo that's getting heaps of free updates and whatever else, if you go to purchase one of these like a year or two after release, it's like, okay, let me just wait about 24 days for my 500 terabyte fucking update to install over here, shall I? So
yep.
I thought that was good. Doesn't affect me at all, but found it interesting nonetheless.
Interesting.
Yes. And it's just like, I remember before I got MBN, because I didn't have MBN back in the PS3 day. And even then it's like I'd buy a game that had heaps of updates and I'd be like, it was literally like, I'm going to start this update at like 9 a.m. and we'll see how long it takes, these sorts of things. Let's get into the main topic then. State of play. State of play, Ashley. Before we jump into, I suppose before we jump into all the news stories, they're like, oh, we're gonna do a, we're gonna do a refresh. We're gonna come in hot. We're gonna do something new. That's what they said in the press release. Anyway.
Yep.
Wasn't that different?
No.
No.
They changed the art style.
Yep. They went.
She talked a little bit faster.
Yeah. They went from trying to be like, oh, we're inspired from. We're not ripping off the Drex. We're just inspired by Drex. They went from that to we've pretty much just copied the exact same template that Drex used for like their slideshow thing, which I'm fine with. I give zero fucks. I'm like,
yeah,
Drex have got the system down. You want to copy that, and then like once you've got that down, then it's like if you was going to make your first movie, maybe just take a script and some shot lists that have already been done and proven to work, and then you can hone your craft after that. So they're over here. They're like, let's start this state of play.
Sounds like plagiarism.
Yeah. Well, that's all. Let's start with plagiarism, and then let's we'll spread our wings following that. We'll do something new.
You're not entirely wrong.
Yeah. The one thing I still, it was fine. It's not great, but it's serviceable. I think the biggest problem is the content within them more so than the presentation at this moment, which I'll say like the girl's voice I'm still not sold with. It still just sounds too much like Siri to me. It was a little bit better, but like still didn't love it. But I'll say the biggest problem they have right at the moment is they're still not very good at like planning what content to show inside these things, because obviously they started up here. They're like, we want to do a state of play. Our main serving on this thing is obviously Last of Us 2. But then how they go about filling everything else that they're going to show, I don't think they're not very good at wrapping the burrito with ingredients that service the main meat. You know what I'm saying? Do you get what I'm saying, Ash? Do you understand?
I hear what you're saying. I feel like with Sony, everybody's a bit more critical of the burrito. But with Nintendo, everyone will just eat the burrito and not care.
Ain't that the truth?
Yeah.
That's some like life advice. That's some like hard hitting life advice. But yeah, I just feel like as much as I liked what they showed overall, like we're going to talk about the games and everything in a second. I'm like, yeah, this looks great. That looks great. Whatever, I just feel like the mix isn't good. It's like making a music playlist, and you could be like, all of these songs are good, but within this playlist or this mixtape or whatever, they're just not flowing well. You know what I'm saying? That's what I get what you're saying. That's what I feel. I don't know if that's a better analogy.
I feel like it's the best one so far.
All right, I'm sticking with that, and we'll move into the game. So the first thing they shown was Humanity. So this comes from Enhance, their next VR supported game. I got an article up from VR Focus because actually I had some quotes in here that were explaining the game a little bit better. Because of course the trailer, I think no one knew what it was because it's just a bunch of humans.
Yep.
Being like lemmings and shit.
Yeah, and then I skimmed through that PlayStation blog post. Also did not understand what it
doesn't tell you much. The only reason I got excited is because when it came up with Enhanced Games, I was like, my game of the year 2018, here's their next game. So I'm sold at that point because of like, I like the last thing they did, which, Tetris is a little bit different because that's obviously a known quantity.
Yeah.
But still, I was like, cool, let's see what's happening here. So VR Focus writes, kicking off today's State of Play broadcast for Sony Interactive, blah, blah, blah. The next title was published by Tetris Effect Studio Enhanced Games, being developed by I'm not sure. Humanity's short video showcased a rather stark-looking visual style for an experience designed for both virtual reality and non-VR gameplay, a concept created by LTD's founder Yugo Nakamura. Just over 3 years ago, Humanity looks to have gameplay elements reminiscent of classic puzzler Lemmings. The time the time there are massive crowds of people walking, climbing, jumping, and falling as they wander around. These groups can even fight, shoot at one another as if protecting a location. The video doesn't detail any specific gameplay elements, only alluding to some, with further details to be released in the new year. Enhanced Games joins the project in early 2018 to take on publishing duties, as well as contribute to level design and general gameplay consulting. Quote, from the very first early demo I saw, I couldn't get humanity out of my head, says Enhanced founder and CEO Tetsuya Mizuguchi in a statement, continuing to say, the whole look and feel of it, manipulating these teeming masses of people was memorizing, especially in VR. I knew right away it could be something special, which is why I couldn't be more excited to help a visionary like Yugo-san realize its full potential. I've long admired the work of Mizuguchi-san and his team. It feels like the perfect fit to be working with the people who made the game, like Rez and Tetris Effects, as the founder and creative director Yuga Nakamura. Everyone at Thar is working hard to make humanity something that likewise engages all of your senses, a fun challenge game that also has something more meaningful than that. Rest assured, we have lots more to show and talk about. So they don't really explain what it is, but I mean, if Mizuguchi likes it, it's gonna. I presume it's up his alley, which is weird, cerebral shit. And if it's ticking his box of weird cerebral shit, then I'm also intrigued. And I definitely feel like if the game's just like a combination of good music with like just this puzzle of like Lemmings style stuff. And then obviously if you're playing it in VR and you get this really good like depth of field kind of stuff happening, then yeah, I can see the potential for something in here. And of course I would like to see and know more, but I'm at least intrigued. I'm intrigued from what I saw. And even though the trailer didn't tell you much, I did feel like even if you're out there and you're like, this game looks fucking stupid, try and tell me that when that trailer started, you weren't like, at least a little bit, you were watching it because you're like, fuck is this? You know what I mean? Like, it was just so confusing that even if people say they hated it, I'm going to choose to believe they
watched it all the way through and like were paying attention to like, it was intriguing.
Yes, exactly. The next thing they showed was Call of Duty's Modern Warfare story trailer. I don't have much to say about this. I've not played any Modern Warfare games before. I know a bunch of people were like yelling at character names and being like, "Oh, you know, whoever." I don't know. I'll say that
Price
that's it, Captain Price. I'll say that I didn't fully grasp what the fuck the story exactly was from the trailer. I was finding it very hard to keep up with. You know, like here, there, teaming up with what seemed like a militia.
They're teaming up with some rebels or something.
Yeah, like that. And then all this sort of stuff. It did look like a movie trailer. It did look like something that fucking someone would... I was trying to think of the director of the Bourne films names, but whatever, something Greenberg or whatever it is. Seems like something he would be making. It looks good though. Character animations, detail, all this sort of stuff. Looks
got a cool mustache.
Very cool mustache. They finally revealed something about the story at all, which was of course interesting because up until this point all they've shown is like multiplayer modes and whatever else. So cool. It didn't do much for me. Like I said, this is probably the least interesting thing from the whole state of play to me personally.
I don't know. Yeah, I think it was a good trailer. I mean, I feel it makes me feel like they're putting more of an effort into the campaign this time. So, if you're a single player campaign person who was angry about there not being any campaign in the last iteration, this one's for you. Go out and buy it.
This one's for you.
Stop complaining on the internet. Just talk with your money.
The next thing they showed was Wattam, which was announced in 2014 or 15 or something like that. So this game's been around for ages. They finally put a release date on it of December this year. Mm-hmm. Solo and co-op. No one understands what this game is. Although, that's kind of the point. from what I
Is
can
it?
gather. Yeah, because I went back and watched some old like I think like 2018, but like interviews and stuff about this game or whatever else. And even then, they're watching gameplay from then, and like I can't remember the head dude's name, but like even then, they'll be asking these people asking questions like, why are all the characters trying to explode together? And he's like, oh, it's a story spoiler. Like, what does Wattam mean? And he's like, oh, I took the Japanese word for this, and I took some other word for this, and I joined them together, and they both words mean circle, and then I've joined them to make Wattam. And they're like, okay, so the theme of the game is circles, and they're like, explain that, and he's like, it's about connection and all this stuff. So I feel like he understands what it is, but like it's obviously supposed to be like a player self-discovery along the way. It definitely feels like a fun, weird game to play. I want to play it, is the thing. I don't know exactly what the fuck is going on. I think the idea that we're all exploding together is a odd concept for a game, but
they're all trying to have a pleasure explosion.
Well, got him. Another weird thing is, so from what I could gather, the game is going to have like X amount of characters basically, and they're not like procedurally generated or anything like that. I think it's not quite, no, and it's not quite 100 characters, a bit less than that apparently. And you can control everyone in the world or whatever it is, and everyone's basically character, something like that. So you start as a certain character, and then you bump into like a tree or whatever, and then you can control the tree, and the tree becomes a character, and so on and so forth. And it seems that you're just slowly like building this world by doing stuff. I don't know. It's from the guy who made Katamari. It's like that game's literally about just rolling into shit and making a giant bowl and then rolling into more shit. So you want to tell me that people like it's like, okay, you're trying to explain Katamari to me. But these days, if you ask people about Katamari, people are like, yeah, Katamari is great. We love Katamari. So I definitely feel like this is a game where it's like, we need to play it, then we'll understand it, and then we can be a judge of it. In a trailer, it's always just going to be something that looks weird.
Cool.
Well, cool
weird,
and weird, yeah. I mean, I liked it. I can't tell you what the fuck is going on.
Yeah.
Next thing was Arise, a simple journey. So this is being made by developer Piccolo Studio. And basically this game is about traveling through the afterlife. So the game begins with your character on a pyre, being sent off, and then at the start of the game you awaken limbo basically, but not like dark fucked up limbo like Limbo the game limbo, more like there's nothingness around me limbo, and then apparently you see like a light off in the distance or something like that, and then you're like, okay, I'm going to follow that. So that's kind of like Journey-esque, because Journey, the whole game is like you start the game and you see this thing on top of a mountain, and then the whole game about Journey is literally trying to get to that. And then throughout Arise, you're going to travel through these different areas, and the entirety of the game is basically going to be different areas that are made up from like your character's memories and these sorts of things, which the development team said are made up from like the people that they work, like the development team's memories and places and all these sorts of things. So sounds like a rather personal game. And then there's going to be time manipulation mechanics, which they didn't really show in the trailer. No. They didn't show it all in the trailer.
They didn't show much. So.
Yeah. The trailer was more like showing you like the general feeling, I guess, of the game. But yeah, in the game, there's going to be puzzles. And it sounds like the puzzles are going to involve time manipulation. To what extent? Don't know. They obviously didn't explain much. I gathered all this from a PS blog post that went up after the fact. But I thought this looked really, really cool. I like the art style. I like what they showed. And obviously, out of all the games they showed that was new, compare this to fucking the last two we talked about. This one was a lot. Well, humanity in Wattam. Arise is a lot simpler of a construct.
It's an easier sell.
It's an easier sell. Yeah. Did you like look at this one?
Yeah, it looks. Yeah, well, obviously, for a start, it's a beautiful looking game. So, if it's like a short little adventure story, cool. I think it's definitely one to keep an eye on. This is the type of game I think would be good to see more of in State of Play. But if it's like 4 or 5 of these kind of games, and then a big AAA stuff, and then some VR stuff, that'd be cool.
Yeah. Talking about VR. Next thing they announced was LA Noire, the VR case files was available right there and then, so they're out now.
I could have sworn this was already a thing.
Yeah, well,
it was already out on PSVR.
It got leaked like a week beforehand or
but
whatever.
No, it was out on Oculus or whatever.
Yeah, it's been out on that stuff for like a year or whatever. So unless you're in like the PC VR spectrum, you probably didn't even hear about it. This is why I saw a lot of people in comments and Twitter be like, so is this a VR add-on to LA Noire, like, and all this sort of stuff? It's like, no, it's a full VR game. I would like to play it. It's like $50 or whatever, so it's probably not going to happen anytime soon. But from what I gathered, I remember anytime I read about it, it always sounded cool. It always sounded great. They said it's like, you know, several couple missions. It's LA Noire. If you like LA Noire, it's more of that. Cool.
Yeah.
They then just had a hype reel showing off some stuff. Nothing blowing. So they'd gone coming the winter 2019. Aspire, the VR operative, which is coming, was supposed to release September 2019, but then got delayed. It got delayed a day before its release. It was supposed to release the same week of the State of Play, and then got delayed. So that was a bit of a bummer. That one looks really cool, though. That's like the full-on stealth one. It
looks like Splinter Cell.
Yeah. I can't remember if I talked about that. The first time I saw it was at E3. I don't know if I talked about an arcade couch or something like that, but that's the first time I saw it during the VR showcase thing. Yeah.
Showcase, yeah. Stranding game.
Yes. And it's in the Canberra, whatever it's called.
Yeah.
Whatever that thing's called, I forget.
The National Film and Sound Archives. It's going to be preserved forever. So as long as they put it out, that'd be good.
Got them. Stardust Odyssey is coming winter 2019. After the Fall's coming 2020. There was a trailer for that. I wasn't too impressed. And then Channel 5 VR is coming autumn 2019. That's like a dancing one. Looks like Hitsu, whatever it's called. I can't remember. You know, the thing.
Or something?
Mizuku, yeah. So it was just this is what I'm saying. I would have rather, a lot of this VR stuff just feels thrown in. I'm like, make this State of Play focused on like more stuff related to Last of Us or whatever. And then like they could have literally done a VR State of Play, like a 10-minute one, even like 2 weeks after this or something. You know what I mean? Just Nintendo's better at like splitting them up and giving things more focus point. I'm like, why do we have a hype reel? Just spread this out into its own thing. Give it its own time. So the next thing they announced was the MediEvil would be getting a short-lived, very funny, demo. So that dropped. And that is out until, I think I've got the fucking date here somewhere. October 6th is when it will live to. And if you play it, you'll get access to Dan's helmet in the game. And then you can get that in the full release. It was originally exclusive to the Japanese version of the game. So I played the demo, of course, and it's MediEvil, which is good because, as we know, I've talked about, I like the game. I was a big fan of the PS1 original game. It's bad for, I would say, don't really, once again, and I feel like this is the same for Spyro, Crash, and all these sorts of things. And I think that's perfectly fine. But it's like, is this game going to attract like a great new fan base? Don't think so. Because it's very much.
Did it have a great fan base to start off with?
Yes, me. Right? I'm great.
I'm shaking my
head. And I'm the fan base. No, but I play it. It's the first level of the game. So you see the opening cutscene. But the main reason I loved it is because I was getting proper nostalgia. Like it has the menu, and like the menu always opened where like it would cut for the camera would kind of pan across all these graveyards and these sorts of things, and then it would like come up to his skeleton and he'd be like and then like you'd move his hand up and down between like new game, load game options and all these things. And like even that, just at the start of the demo, I was like, oh, in the feels, you know, like in the nostalgia feels. Starting up the game, everything's where it should be. Some things are new. Some things don't feel like the extra tutorial type things, I guess, to make the game somewhat easier. So you know what you're supposed to do and whatever else. Whatever, doesn't bother me. You play through the first level of the game, which is just set in a graveyard, so you're just fighting zombie enemies and whatever. It's MediEvil as I love and remember it, except for obviously looks a little bit better, looks a little bit better. The combat's still just you have like no lock-on system. You have a lock-on for like throwing daggers and stuff like that on certain weapons, but like your sword is just generally you kind of just wail square and just Dan like flops his sword around in the air like this, and then you can't just try and hit all the zombies around you and whatever else. You've got like a power-up move and whatever else. I cleared enough enemies, found the secret chalice. It's not very secret in the first level, to be honest. It's pretty easy to find. Cleared it. Watched the opening thing where it shows Zarok turn all the village people into murderous killers. And that was it. I'm excited. Cool. Can't wait. MediEvil. October, whatever it is. October 20 something.
See, you just said it. You forgot about it because it doesn't matter.
No. October 25th.
Yep.
MediEvil's out now.
Enjoy Don Murdeskew and MediEvil.
Did you say Don Murdeskew?
Okay, couch.
If you don't want to play, if you don't want to play the demo, I uploaded gameplay footage of it to, of course, the youtube.com/Explosion Network, so you can watch that there. Next thing they announced was Sid Meier's Civilization 6 is coming to PS4 November 22nd. I can't think of anywhere I'd rather not play a Civ game than on a console, personally. But I guess that's cool if the only choice you have.
Yep.
I don't really care. Do you care?
It's such a weird one.
So and they announced it like, a big game is coming to PlayStation for the first time. We're like, what is it? Civilization. Okay, fuck, who cares?
Yeah.
It was a bit of a letdown. The next thing they teased, like, here comes Death Stranding. I'm like, just give it the fucking rest of the Death Stranding shit. You know what I mean? And luckily it wasn't like a new trailer or new anything like that. It was just an announcement of this limited edition PS4 Pro bundle with a baby inspired case for your controller. So it's like the yellow and it's like see-through or whatever it is, and the console has the handprint on it and what have you. Goodo. I'm not particularly interested. I don't mind the controller, to be honest. Don't mind the controller, but I have no plans to pick up either, really.
No. They should really sell that controller separate.
They probably will.
Smart.
They probably will.
Yeah.
They usually end up selling a limited number separately. It's like I've got that PS4, the one that's like the grey from like the PS1 classic, that which they sold separately as well. So presume they'll sell it separately. Or hope they'll sell it separately.
Yeah. And I noticed afterwards that in the handprints, there's a map of the world in the handprints.
Is there?
Yeah.
Ooh.
So has that been in all the handprints going from the start? I just haven't noticed.
The world in your
Kojima,
hands.
just playing mind games.
It's literally what Hideo
It's all about
tweets.
connections, remember?
Hideo tweets that every time. The world is in your hands. Then they showed a trailer for Afterparty, which is coming out October 29th. Again, I kind of felt like this was a weirdly placed one because they also showed this in the Xbox, Inside Xbox thing, which was on the same day. And of course, there's no PlayStation exclusive stuff or whatever. So it's just like, are they paying a bunch of money to have PlayStation, Xbox, and everyone advertise it? Or like, what's the, you know what I mean? Like, what's the
dealio? It was an odd one.
It's weird.
Especially seeing as it's going to be on Game Pass over on Xbox.
Yes.
So why would they put it here?
Yep.
Not that it wasn't a good trailer. It's got me even more keen for it. But
game looks great. Games look. I've been keen for the game since day one, but I always thought it was more of an Xbox attuned thing, especially after they, obviously announced the Game Pass thing for it. So it's like odd one to put in here, but trailer was good. And play the game, I guess. Like
yeah.
Then they announced the PS Plus lineup once again. All right, here's my ruling on this. If they're going to start doing states of play once a month, and every time that's where they're going to announce the PlayStation Plus lineup within the state of play that's on every month, I'm fine with this. if they're not going to start doing states of play once a month and they just did this because why not, then I think it was a waste of time and it was silly. Because they announced that MLB The Show 19 and The Last of Us Remastered are coming.
I mean, if they're doing a state of play and it was positioned in the perfect time to announce it, they might as well just announce it in the state of play. So it made sense, even if they're not going to do it consistently. I think it's a good month though. Yeah, MLB The Show 19 only came out like 6 months ago, so for them to put it out free for everybody is that's pretty cool. I mean, it's probably not the Australian demographic, but it's a pretty good get. And then Last of Us Remastered, it's shocking that it hasn't been released already on PS Plus, but I guess they're waiting for Last of Us Part 2 to come out before giving us something.
Yes, The Last of Us Remastered coming is good, obviously, because there may be some people who haven't played it yet. By the way, what was the ruling? Did you? I was trying to remember after this was announced. I'm like, I can't remember if you said you finished it. I remember you saying that you struggled with it.
I never finished it, but I've watched the.
You've watched
I watched the playthrough. So.
Do you reckon you're ever going to try and?
No.
Nah. Okay.
Maybe like for content purposes, but that's the only possible reason.
Strokes figurative beard. Yeah, Last of Us Remastered, cool. It means I might get rid of my copy for $10 at EB or whatever, since I'll now own it digitally, just to clear up, one less disc to own, I suppose. But MLB The Show, obviously, I don't give two fucks. It's sports. Sports. Yeah. If they're going once again, if they're going to do these monthly, I think announcing the PS Plus lineup in the show is a good idea. If they're not going to do a monthly, I think this was a really weird decision to just do a minute.
It took like a minute.
I just felt I'm just like, why? Why make it a thing unless you're actually going to make it a thing? All right, so we can jump into the actual last
segues. That's why.
Yeah, maybe. Segue. Last of Us Part 2, of course, was the last trailer that they showed during the whole thing. And it wasn't much, really. It was one trailer. They didn't spend too long on it. It wasn't like they showed gameplay or whatever. That's what the press was getting. But we do have some articles to talk about the gameplay. They did put a video up later with Neil Druckmann and some other people explaining what the press demo was all about. So I've watched that. It's about 9 to 10 minutes, whatever it is. So we've got a lot of Last of Us stuff, but just focusing on what was during the state of play first. So they showed a trailer. It shows Ellie going out on an adventure with Dinah. Patrol with Dinah, because and then they seem to get separated, and then she goes into this house. By the way, the trailer is basically the demo, is what it is.
Yes.
Like everything that they show in this trailer is what the press was playing during the demo. So there is like a connective loop to everything that was happening during this whole like outbreak week that Naughty Dog was putting on, basically.
Yeah. Which also tells us that we didn't see a lot.
Yeah, we didn't see a lot. It's like you may think, because it's like, oh, there's 3 hours of gameplay and the trailer, but then when you're like, the trailer is just cut up of the 3 hours of gameplay, and then when you hear in that 10-minute video Neil Druckmann say that although we showed you a 3 hours of gameplay, they're in 2 completely different seasons and parts of the game, and like it's such a small fragment. And we'll talk about how big the game is in a minute, because there's like another story about that kind of gives you an idea of how big the game is. I honestly don't feel like we're seeing a lot, but so the trailer shows Dinah and Ellie get separated, and then they end up at this house and whatever else, and then it teases that these people have like kidnapped her or like trapped her in this building or something along those lines. And Ellie like comes in with a gun, and then she gets hit, and then they make out like something really bad happens to Dinah during the thing, which I'm putting it out there because I tweeted it straight away. When I was watching the trailer, as much as I did enjoy the trailer overall, there's one particular element I was not a big fan of, because I just think it's a very boring trope, and I would have thought that Naughty Dog could be better than that. With that said, before we get into the whole like thing, do I believe that they're actually going to do it? I have no idea. I would like to think not. I would like to think that they're good at that. They're cutting their trailers themselves. Naughty Dog has a big control over their own media output, much like Hideo does. You know, like
Yeah.
when you reach a certain stature, you get control of what you're showing. If you're a smaller game company, you don't really have so much say, but they're getting to choose what they're showing us here and the message they're trying to pull over here. And I'm going to go ahead and try and say that and presume and hope, fingers crossed, that what they're showing us here with the fact that Dinah's just killed, and that's because the trailer basically says Dinah's killed. That upsets Ellie because, in case you don't know, Dinah is the girl that you see Ellie making out with in the trailer they showed at E3 2 years ago.
E3 last year. Yeah.
Yes, last year, sorry. Last year, in the barn thing. So that's who she is. That's Ellie's quote-unquote love interest. So they make out like she's killed or something disastrous happens to her, and that's like the kicking force that sends Ellie off into this revenge mission, which is the second half of the trailer and the second demo that the press also got to play. Now, once again, as I'm saying, I'm going to hope that is a like red herring type thing and that's not actually what they're doing. But even if it isn't what they're doing, I don't like that they're teasing it. Like, oh, let's all be coy about it. Why bother? You know? And I am of the side where, and heaps of people had similar thoughts to me. You know, I tweet this out as I'm watching the trailer, whatever I said. Like, I was just like, I wasn't a big fan of the setup driving force or whatever. And then, of course, as the day continues, you see heaps of other people having similar sort of thoughts and complaints. Does this mean that, does this one thing annoying me mean that I'm suddenly like, fuck The Last of Us 2? No, of course not. I'm still very excited for The Last of Us 2, but there's no reason I can't be excited for something and then still be critical of certain things.
No, that's not how the internet works.
I know.
If you're critical of one tiny little aspect, then you hate it.
It means you hate it. Yeah, I know. It's weird. I'm like, I'm really excited for The Last of Us.
Which is true.
Yeah, but you said you was complaining about something. Yeah, I'm allowed to be critical of something. That's anyway. Yeah, so because I do find it weird. Of course, the term that everyone uses is fridging, which basically means I don't know the official description.
Killing somebody, introducing a character purely to kill them off to motivate the main character.
Which
it's a Green Lantern thing.
Yes. Is it?
Yep. Yeah.
What
happened was Kyle Rayner's girlfriend was killed by a villain and shoved in a fridge. The dead body was stuffed in a fridge. That's where the term comes from.
There you go. History lesson for everyone. Yeah, I'm not a big. I honestly hadn't really heard the term fridging until the day that this was happening. So I was tweeting about something.
What?
Yeah, I never heard it. So I'm tweeting about a problem that I agree with everyone, but then everyone's using this term to describe a thing. And I'm like, I'm like, what are you talking about? And then I realized they're talking about the same thing.
Okay.
It was weird. I'm like, I've never heard the term fridging. Anyway, so in my view, without knowing the term fridging, I'm watching the trailer. I see that they're playing off the idea of Ellie's love interest being killed and that as a driving force, and I'm just viewing it as, I think that's a shitty, boring trope thing. Just as a plot thing, to me, that's boring. That's crap. That's not very interesting, and I hope that's not what they're doing. That's all I was feeling watching the trailer. I'm just like, I hope that's not what they're doing, because that is not very interesting to me at all. Like, let's kill the one other gay character in the whole fucking game, especially as much as I like. So they did that. Did you watch the DLC for the what's it called? Left Behind?
No, I didn't.
Okay. So
Left Behind. Yeah.
Spoilers. No. And by the way, I think we're going to say now, on this show, Platinum Explosion, #1 PlayStation podcast in the Oceanias, I'm not going to put up spoiler warnings for Last of Us from this episode forward. I understand it dropped on PS Plus and some of you may not have played it yet, but we're literally 3 months out from the second game and I'm drawing a line. We are saying, like, Last of Us spoilers, they're off the table at this point. Come on, there has to be a thing. I can't discuss the second game without fucking spoiling thing from the first game. Don't get up.
Well, I think we all know Ellie lives.
Ellie lives and Joel lives. Well, does he? So in the Left Behind DLC thing, which is set prior to Last of Us, it basically has Ellie and this other girl go through this trip into like a rundown bowl, Fantastic fucking DLC. It's very story based. There's barely any combat in it. In fact, the only combat's like at the very end, and it kind of ruins the DLC because up until that point, it's basically you running around with this other girl and exploring this mole that's run down, and it's really good. But the thing for that is that DLC is what sets up Ellie's character as being gay or bi or anything in that direction. That's the DLC that kind of introduces the whole thing, and it's because she gets her and that girl share a kiss during that DLC, but then they kill her. Right. So, which in the context of the DLC, because you're playing,
that's what happens in the zombie apocalypse.
Yeah, I understand, but it's like you've already done a DLC where Ellie gets romantically interested in a girl, and then you kill her to be like, the world's tough. Naughty Dog, are you really going to do the exact same fucking thing again? Yeah, because
we all know second time hits even harder.
No. This should move on for this. All I'm going to say is I think if it's what they're doing, would it make me stop playing the game? No. Would it make me be like, that's pretty shit? Yes. Would I leave my final judgment of the context of it within the story until after I played it? Yes, but I reserve the right to, if they officially come out in promotional material and confirm that Dinah's going to die or something like that, then I'm gonna hold my right to be like, at the moment, I think that's shitty, but I will at least wait until I've played the game, until I have full thoughts and judgment on that. But I at the same time, I think there's nothing wrong with watching a trailer for a movie or a TV show or a game or what have you, seeing something as a plot device and being like, I think at the moment, that shit, I'll save my full thoughts until I've watched the whole thing. You know, so that's
yeah. It's hard because it seems like the most obvious direction they could be going, especially with all the talk about the game being about hate and
how far would you go? That's what they keep
and
saying.
That kind of thing. But then they've also done it in a way where it seems like it's too obvious.
Yes, that's my thing. I'm like, they're being way too obvious about it. They've set this Dinah character up in E3 last year. They've set it up as a big character in this, and then what? You're going to kill her in the first couple hours of the game just to be the. I'm like, I mean, they could very well, because that's what the trailer makes it out like it's going to be. But I'm like, I feel like they're just, you know, they're trying to subvert your. I'm hoping they're subverting expectations and they're going to pull things in different directions and do something else. Because if that is how the game is, like, you go around, get really attached to Dinah and Ellie, and they're really great together, and then Dinah's fucking like horribly fucking killed or in some fashion by fucked up humans, and then Ellie, the game's about Ellie getting revenge. I'm playing it. I'm not going to act like I'm not going to play it, but if that is the opening setup, I'm disappointed, to put it bluntly. I would be very disappointed if that's the setup for the game.
Yeah.
Yes. All right, so moving on, I guess, unless you got something else to say on the
I mean, what else could it be, though?
Joel's dead. Those people came into a town and killed a whole bunch of people. They find out that they killed someone else that she had attachment to.
Oh, so it's allowed to be a bunch of other people, but not the one character that we like.
Yes. I think if the idea of her seeking revenge because it kills a bunch of characters you know nothing about, or killing literally the one romantic interest she has as a fucking gay character in the game, is completely different.
Yeah.
And if anyone listening to this doesn't understand how they're completely different, you can at me on Twitter and I'll fucking explain it to you. All right, there you go. All right, so moving on. The game's coming out February 21st, 2020. Ash, as he said on Arcade Couch, he hates the release date because, of course, it means that I was right. You know, for episodes, I was like, it's coming. Like, there's all this proof. Everyone's happening. Ash is over here like, it's just fucking Ashley Johnson's boyfriend. Like, I was just having a joke. It wasn't a joke, Ash. It's a real release date. It's coming February 21st.
No.
So other than being somewhat upset that people like me get to say that I was correct, how do you feel about the release date of February?
Yeah, it's fine. I mean, obviously, early next year, it'll be interesting to see where it fits with the PS5 announcement. Will they announce it after The Last of Us or around the same time? Is that whether that affects sales or not? I don't think it will because everybody's just going to pick it up anyway.
They'll pick it up anyway. There's one key factor for this whole PS5 thing now left in the puzzle because there was 3 titles we had until a couple months ago. There was 3 titles that were like was waiting to see later. They kept being like Death Stranding's a PS4 title. People kept being like maybe it's a PS5 title. Death Stranding's a PS4 title. Of course, we know we have a release date now. It's out in literally like a bit over a month.
2 months.
Well, we're about to enter October, so it's like a month and like a week and a month and a week, a month, a week and a half or something. Yeah, yeah, like, flip it out, PAX is soon. Then, of course, was waiting on the Last of Us date, so we've got that now, so that's February. And then the third date was waiting on was Ghost of Tsushima, of course, which is like, where does that fit in? Because that's the last kind of. They kept being like, that's a PS4 title, that's a PS4. They kept saying for all of these games, they are PS4 titles. Now we know, we don't know. We can very much easily assume that all of these fucking games are going to get PS5 re-releases with improved graphics and frame rates and, you know, the whole
loading,
the whole thing. Better loading. It's going to get all of that for sure. But all of these games are supposed to have PS4 release dates. So Ghost of Tsushima is the kind of last one we're waiting on. And I guess it's like November, January, February, Last of Us. March, April, Ghost of Tsushima? I'm just kind of going by like a 2-month spread. And it's like,
yeah,
it's like,
I don't think so.
But at the same time, you can't have it too close to the PS5. Too close to the launch, then it's, you know what I mean?
I feel like that one's going to be the cross-generational launch.
Well, let me add in another key to the puzzle too. We all thought that the PS5 was going to have a February media reveal event. I no longer think they're going to have that in February because I think it would be weird to have a PS5 reveal event the same month that Last of Us 2 releases because then you're kind of, both things have just the massive hype balls, you know what I mean? So it's like you kind of want to spread those things out. So then it's like, that's another thing you have to take into account here. So it's like January, nothing. February, Last of Us. March, PS5 reveal. April goes to Tsushima. That's what I'm just placing at the moment, potentially. And then you have a couple months of... you also need time. This is another thing. You also need enough time, a gap between like when the big, massive PS4 releases end. Then you need a couple spare months to begin promo and hype and not just for the PS5, but also, everyone keeps forgetting this. What the fuck is launching on those consoles? You know what I'm saying? Like, they have to announce NAC 3. You know your boy's gonna be.
You know it's coming.
You know your boy's gonna be there, but they have to announce like NAC 3 and all these things. So it's like you could very much be like, oh, the PS5 is going to release like end of October, Dylan, or something like that. Let's say let's say it comes at end of October, early November, something like that. Okay, so you need then at least like September, August for like a couple months of good like time just spent on like kind of building up the promo material and whatever else stuff. You don't want to be doing too much promotion for a game like Ghost of Tsushima at the same time you're trying to sell a new console, because then of course you're mixing messages and you know all these sorts of things. It gets rather confusing. Next year's a clusterfuck of weird shit happening. The start of next year is absolutely fucked, to put it bluntly. It is fucked. You got Last of Us, you got Final Fantasy, you got Cyberpunk, you've got Ghost of Tsushima supposedly somewhere amongst all of this, and whatever else is happening. You know what I mean? Like, it is absolutely fucking insane. And
to be fair, Last of Us in February, there isn't like a massive release around that time, so it's going to get a bit of time by itself. Gods and Monsters is set to come out on the 25th, and before that, Will-O-Wisp, Ori and the Will-O-Wisp will come out, but that's not going to matter to PS4 players.
Yes.
So February is a pretty empty month, but then Final Fantasy Remake is on the 3rd of March. So.
Which, when
and Watch Dogs
when
on the 6th.
You think about like Last of Us 21st of February, but then it's like when you start putting those, it's like third or whatever you said.
It is a leap year next year, so you get that extra day.
It's like it's still zero. It's still just several weeks of goddamn everything. Like quit your job, but you can't quit your job because you need to save for the PS5. Fuck, how do I have time and save money for the new console?
Caffeine pills.
It's literally impossible. Back to Last of Us, I guess. So a couple of articles and bits and bobs of information that came out over here. So first one, Push Square wrote, speaking of US gamer, lead game designer Amelia Schwartz said that the base PS4 is Naughty Dog's target platform, saying, quote, that's actually what I've got on my desk at work. That's what we sort of aim for. Schatz? That's what I'm going with. Then goes on to state that the footage we saw earlier this week isn't the game's final frame rate, nor is it its locked screen resolution. So this is important information, I think, because as they note in the article, games like Control and Borderlands 3 are being basically considered nearly unplayable on base PS4s if they struggle with frame rate problems. So people were, I think, rightfully kind of worried if The Last of Us 2 would be just unplayable come release. They're saying it's being targeted for that. I find that absolutely insane. I guess it could still look pretty, but I mean, I don't know if this has happened yet, but like, could they potentially be like, we're locking the frame rate of the PS4 base Model 1 to like 28 frames, and then and then on the PS4 version, we're going to like kind of let it fluctuate and like, you know, get upwards of there or whatever to do whatever else we need to do. But yeah, you've only got a base, don't you?
I've only got a base one,
yes.
So I don't. Sounds good. I haven't noticed anything, but then I'm probably not one of those people who clearly is looking at frame rates and that kind of thing. I don't know how much frame rates is going to play into a third person action survival game.
I mean, the game, much like The Last of Us, which when it released, obviously it was like, how is this running on the PS3? Because, by the way, that's something I keep seeing people. I saw one fucking thing, one person, I'm not going to call out who it is. I saw one thread early in the week where people were like, Last of Us is the best game of this generation. I'm like, it's a PS3 game. It's not a PS4 game. It's literally called Remastered because it released on PS. So yeah, when that game came out on PS3 originally, it was like, whoa, this is shocking. How's this running on PS3? Absolutely, Naughty Dog masters the technology over there, working with the PlayStation console. That appears to be what they're doing with here, because of course the game looks absolutely fantastic. But then there's lots of other little details because, as I was saying, like we'll go over kind of what they talk about in the demo. One of the things they talk about in the demo is the fact that like all these characters that you bump into, human characters, all have their own names, and that if you kill one, it won't be like, oh, Goon 1 is dead. They'll be like, oh, Thomas is dead. Or,
oh no, Kieran is dead.
Oh, Kieran's dead. Which to me is absolutely like, how, what? Like how, it's such a little.
Well, they get a list of audio.
Yeah, it's not that simple though.
They record it.
It's not that simple.
They just randomly generate names for every person.
I don't think.
Or there's a set name for every single character.
There's a set name for every character, but means that there's each character's, that's so much more work and everything that's going on. And I don't know, it was kind of blowing my mind. But
I want to know if they named all the dogs.
Let's hope not. So, do you want to talk about the dogs? Well, hold on. We'll go. So in the demo video where they talk about what goes through the demo, I don't think we need to talk about the first half because we can't just spend a lot of time on the whole diner aspect of that. But they said what happens in the demo is you go out, you kind of get separated in a snowstorm, you end up at a house, and then at the demo kind of ends with them having like sort of a romantic moment or whatever. The second part of the demo was the more combat focused stuff, which is set months later when Ellie's on a revenge mission or whatever else. And the key factor that the internet has been on about, this is another point of contention, it seems, and I have a lot more simpler answer for how I feel about this one compared to how I feel about the other point of contention. People were getting upset because this enemy faction that you run into in Seattle, I think does that sound right?
Yep, yeah, they said Seattle.
Seattle, where you're running around and there's this enemy faction's taking it over or whatever else. They're making these games even harder. And for anyone out there who's like, Dylan, The Last of Us isn't very hard. I think I've said this before because I've seen people in certain Facebook Well, Last of Us isn't very hard. I beat it on survival easy. Get fucked? Fuck yourself? No. Fuck off. I struggled on normal. There's no way I was playing that game on hard. And it basically looks like they're trying to make these games even harder, which means that if you want to play on easy, and you're out there and you want someone's permission, I, Dylan Bly, hardcore gamer, officially, and host of number one PlayStation podcast in the Oceanias, gives you, viewer and or listener, permission to play The Last of Us on easy and not feel bad about it because the games are quite hard. So that they're making them a lot harder. They're adding in dogs now, which will basically track your scent, and you can activate this the Eagle Vision or whatever they call it in The Last of Us, and you'll be able to see the dog where it's kind of tracking. So it just makes everything so you now have to worry about sound, vision, and scent. So all three ridiculous senses of the human mind. Body.
I understand why they're doing it from a gameplay standpoint. It's just to make it so you can't stay in one place for a long period of time, which is a smart way to go about it. Make it more challenging.
Yes. So now we get to the main question, the point that internet's had trouble with. Internet's all upset. In fact, I've seen more people talk about this than the stuff we were talking about earlier with Dinah, to be honest. People are upset that you have to kill the dogs. What? People are upset that you can kill the dogs because Neil Druckmann has came in and said you do not actually have to kill the dogs. You can get around them. You can sneak through them. He said, in fact, you don't have to kill anyone. You can sneak your way through the entire thing because part of the thing they're doing with the game, of course, is like you're supposed to feel bad. That's why they're giving all the enemies names and such things. Like you're supposed to feel somewhat bad doing more bloodshed in this game, which I find interesting coming from Naughty Dog, the developer who has a character like Nathan Drake kill about 1,000 people with zero nightmares at night.
No remorse.
No remorse at all. So we'll see how that works out. But yeah, so you don't have to kill dogs, but people are getting upset that you it's hard, so it's basically easier to kill the dogs than it is to escape the dogs. Do you feel bad about potentially having to kill doggos?
No, you're just putting them out of their misery. Think about it. They're in this post-apocalyptic world. What are they eating?
Well, yeah, I suppose humans or animals
or other dogs.
Other dogs, I guess. Died. Yeah, that's true.
Yeah,
got them.
I'm sure they're not having a good life. They're not playing fetch. Just made to do patrols all day.
No, they've been trying to kill people.
They're just getting worked to the bone.
Literally.
Probably.
Yeah, I've.
On the other hand, there's probably only so many dogs left in existence, so you're killing off a potential.
Well, apparently, everyone in Seattle has older dogs. I guess I'd be breeding them. I guess if they get a couple, they just keep them for breeders or some shit. I have a shut dry answer on this one. Well, example. I'll give a bit of a story first. Days Gone. I did not like. I felt bad killing those fucking children. I don't mind that it exists because it's part of the fucking game and it's part of the story and whatever. If something makes me feel bad, that does not mean that it should not be in the game. Potentially, you know what I mean? But Dylan, you was complaining that the thing I was.
You had to kill children in Days Gone.
Yeah, they're fucking I can't remember the name of it. They were the real small ones that they wouldn't always attack you.
Oh, freaker children.
Yeah, the freaker children.
Not just straight up normal.
No,
not
children.
Straight
up kids. But they were freaker kids, which I guess is how they got away with it. But it was still just like you knew they were kids that got turned into freakers, right? And it's still kind of fucked up because they very much look like young children. And I remember the first time I whacked one with a baseball bat, I was like, Jesus, man. Like, I had a similar thing in Dead Space 2. They make you kill like literally like fucking babies, like infant babies in that game. And that again, like they look like Dead Space alien babies or whatever. They're taken over babies or what, infected babies or whatever. But even then I was like, I don't like this, but I wasn't like, this shouldn't exist. Will I enjoy killing doggies? No, but if they're fucking trying to bite my ass off, you know, BL champ. Do I particularly like killing humans in real life? No, haven't done it. I do it in video games all the time, so I don't see what the difference is. But Dylan, you said that they can't kill Dinah. It's a completely different thing.
Yeah. Dog lives don't matter is what Dylan's
Gay
saying.
lives matter, dogs
don't. What if you raised that dog first and then formed an emotional connection to it?
I just know that like with certain things, it's like you say one. The internet. It's. I mean, I don't think for our audience, but I just have anyway. You said they can't kill the gay lady, but you fight if they kill the dogs. What if one of the dogs was gay? You're not for dog rights, for gay rights. Fuck me. Yeah, so the demo, but they basically say the demo says you play for that whole combat area of the dogs or whatever, and then the demo ends like the trailer does, where you get to a certain point of the demo, and then Ellie's like hiding from these cars traveling along, and then of course, a hand like grabs Ellie and then keeps a hush as the cars drive past, and then she turns around and it's Joel, and he's like, "You thought I was gonna let you do this alone, kid?" And he looks about 20 years older when he's only
5.
Yeah, because they said Ellie was, 15, 14, whatever she was.
Yeah.
And now she's 19, 20 or whatever it was. He looks about 20 years older, though. So, yeah. And look, to be honest, I love The Last of Us, the first game. I think it's one of the greatest narrative games ever made, right? I was not sitting there weeping at the sight of Joel, or freaking out like much of the internet was. I don't know if that means I have no soul, or I'm a fake PlayStation fanboy, or if it's simply because my whole thought process was I saw him, I'm like, oh, he looks old. But I wasn't shocked because I knew he was going to be in the I knew he was going to be in the game. Like, were there certain people who didn't know he was going to be in the game? Were we supposed to think he wasn't in the game, or did I just have it built up in my head that he was already in the game? And that's
Troy Baker was cast. Yeah. He shot stuff. Joel was going to be in the game.
Yeah, so that's why I think they show him. I'm like, yeah, he looks older.
I mean, I can understand from a certain point of view. It's like a reunion. Like, it's been years since you've seen Joel, so to see something new from him is cool.
I think maybe it would have had more impact if they didn't already use his voice in that whole the original trailer thing. You know what I mean? Yeah. Because I know this is the first time we see his character model, but like, I've had his voice used in trailers and like, I don't know. Anyway, it's fine. Cool. He shows up. He's there. The internet all thinks he's a ghost still. Like, you think he's a ghost? Probably. Fucking
no.
Over there with tinfoil hat.
Kieran does.
Kieran thinks he's a ghost. I don't
understand how.
Of course he would. I don't think he's a ghost. I think he's there. I think obviously this is another thing to add to the whole Diner thing. Like for Joel to come along like this and be like, I thought you were going to think I was going to let you do this alone, kid. I'm like, it has to be something else. It has to be something that's like bigger to the whole world or something, I feel. And then there's other things too, like just to go on a side tangent with like my tinfoil hat theory. Remember that trailer, the one that once again people got upset about the level of violence. This is the thing with this game. I think the number one thing that when upon release that people are going to be writing about, and once again, because even today I saw people in some thread be like, "Oh, don't follow Kotaku Polygon because they're probably just going to write about how bad the violence is, all this sort of stuff." People are allowed. This is I think I'm up in arms about this lately because of the whole Joker thing, where I'm like, people are allowed to write they don't like that they find excessive violence or whatever. People are allowed to write whatever the fuck they want. It doesn't. Yeah. It also doesn't mean that they necessarily mean that the thing shouldn't exist. Like if someone writes, I found that the level of violence in Last of Us 2 to be excessive for me, blah, 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 blah. If that's an article that comes out upon release, that doesn't mean necessarily that that person even thinks that the game shouldn't exist. A lot of the times these people are just writing. We live in a fucking crazy world where I'm like, why did people...
Crazy that people are writing what their opinions are.
Yeah, it's fucking shocking. Really? I'm like, what do you people think games...
Crazy.
What do you people think games journalism is? It's these fuckers that think it's just fact reporting. X does jump, circle does dive. Fuck off, get out of my life. So I forgot what I was saying after all that, to be honest. I'm going on a fucking whole side.
The violence. I think it's going to be a turn off for people. I feel like it's going to be a bigger thing than we fully expect. Well, maybe not you expect, but most people.
I think they're making they're making it such a big part that I'm like, it has to be such a big part of like, I guess their emotional and narrative reasons to have so much excessive violence, because they keep talking about it being such a like key part of the game, but there's no way they were talking about it. I don't remember ever hearing promotional material for The Last of Us 1 where they were like, yeah, the game's like, Joel's driven by violence. No, Joel was driven by love, really, I guess, like, by the end of the game. Spoilers.
By the end of the game.
Spoilers, he definitely was driven by selfish love by the end of the game to do what he did. Yeah, but remember that other trailer where they had like
Paris Games Week trailer?
Yeah, where the girls all tied up or whatever, all those new characters, the Fireflies.
This whole other cast of characters.
I'm like, is it too much of a crazy theory to say that one of these characters is just like fucking Ellie, like 10 years older? Is that a crazy theory?
I think so, because wasn't one of them voiced by
Laura Bailey?
Laura Bailey?
Yeah, but
I think they put out all the actors for that, so I don't think it is.
But could Ashley Johnson become Laura Bailey?
I feel like it's a very bold choice.
Yeah. The only reason
very, very bold choice.
The only reason I started thinking about it, and this is of course a tinfoil hat theory, is because in that demo thing, like Neil Druckmann's talking about how big the game is, and just to quickly tie it in this other story here, Push Square, Last of Us Part 2, it says PlayStation's biggest game, much like Red Dead Redemption before, it will ship on 2 Blu-ray discs. That means if you're getting the physical copy, then there will be a bit of install time required before you play. It follows the same format as Rockstar's Western. One disc will be used to copy data, while the other will allow you to boot the game. So that's how big The Last of Us is going to be, big enough that it's going to require 2 discs. And Neil Druckmann in these that demo video talks about, the game is massive. We're showing you 2 different sections, 2 different seasons. He says the game's going to span a huge gap of time. I'm like, could it like gap of time over like a year, like several seasons, or gap of time like literally years? We jump ahead like a year. We jump ahead 3 months, 9 mons, what have you. Last of Us 1 did it.
Where do you
already.
think they're set? Where did they end up at the end of the game? Where was Toby based out of? Like, do you know? Remember?
I do not remember because I haven't played it for a couple of years. So
yeah. So I feel like wherever they were, Seattle's a fair distance away.
Yeah. Well, they went south, right? They kept going, or whatever direction it was. No, America's south. They went west. Never eat so wheat picks. North, east, south, west, going left, right, west. That's they could do. Fill the time. Actually find the answer on a dime. Don't make me have to edit more.
No, I don't know.
Okay. Yeah, I'm saying that's my tinfoil hat theory at the moment. It's very, very slim chance, obviously, because as you said, they announced the cast of all those characters, who was voicing them and so forth, and of course it is Laura Bailey,
who's still a secret character. We don't know who she is.
Everyone thinks everyone assumes and thinks that it's Ellie's mum, who we're going to discover has been alive. Which, by the way, if she finds out that someone had kidnapped her mum, that would be a very good driving force.
Oh, that's not tropey enough, is it? That's never happened before.
I mean, I'll take tropey over shitty.
You called it a trope.
It is a trope. It's a trope. They always fucking do. I'll take a less shitty trope over I'll take this trope over another trope. If I have to get a trope, would I rather no tropes? Yes, Ash, I'd rather no tropes. If I have to take a trope, I'll take the trope over the trope. Trope. Anyway, that's a demo. Joel's there. Troy Baker. His voice sounds too gravelly to me. I'm not particularly a fan of it, to be honest. Like, it's kind of a meme of the Joel voice. You think I was going to let you do this alone?
Well, he's probably tired.
I think I was going to let you do this alone, kid.
The only other thing is, do you really think that shot of his face is from that moment?
No, it's from the time jump 10 years later.
I mean, it's not crazy because obviously in the shot where he's covering her mouth, she's like in a green background. And then the other shot, he's got like a staircase behind him. And they've tried to make it say there's like some sort of overpass, it's like destructed building or whatever, but...
Got him. 10-year time jump, confirmed.
Maybe. And that they used that shot.
Heard it here first.
Or maybe that line is from something else.
Got him. Heard it here first, everyone. And then what was the other thing? And then the last thing I think to discuss with The Last of Us before we're here for fucking 10 hours. We'll go from discussing the trailers to just tinfoil hat theories of maybe it's somewhere else. IGN writes The Last of Us Part 2 multiplayer isn't happening, will return in future in some form. So Naughty Dog posted this thing saying an update regarding multiplayer on Twitter. We want to address multiplayer in The Last of Us Part 2. As was stated, the single player campaign is far and away the most ambitious project Naughty Dog has ever undertaken. Likewise, as development began on the evolution of our factions mode from The Last of Us Part 1, the vision of the team grew beyond an additional mode that could be included with our enormous single player campaign. Wanting to support both visions, we made the difficult choice that The Last of Us Part 2 would not include an online mode. However, you'll eventually experience the fruits of our team's online ambition, but not as part of The Last of Us Part 2. When and where it will be realized is still to be determined, but rest assured, we are as big fans of faction as the rest of our community and are excited to share more when it's ready. I think this is a shut and dry case of Last of Us Online will get like Last of Us factions or like Firefly, a Last of Us Online, like it's going to get its own release.
Yeah.
I think is pretty.
It's going to be the equivalent of Lost Legacy, except multiplayer.
Yeah. I think that makes sense. Maybe if it's such a really massive thing that they could actually release it at like a very cheap like buy-in price and then run the whole thing through like season passes and whatever else. Like depends on how they want to go about it. But I think either way, it's going to be its own game, its own release. It's probably going to come somewhere around 6 months at least after release, because of course they don't confirm how much of the team's still working
at
on
break
online.
day next year.
Like once Last of Us goes gold, are you going to are they pushing some of the team to the online stuff? You know what I mean? Like, are they pushing some of that team over there to work on online, and then they're leaving some people over here to begin work on like a DLC type thing? Because they did one DLC for the first game, so I don't think it's crazy to think they might not do that here. But then, of course, for Uncharted 4, they just turned the DLC into its own game, so then it's like maybe we'll end up with Last of Us Part 2, then we'll end up with the online mode, and then we'll end up with like a Last of Us spin-off fucking like Lost Legacy game. Who knows what's going to happen these days? But either way, if you're a big fan of the online mode, it's going to be its own thing. It's coming. People were being real fucking bastards online about it, to put it bluntly. When this story first dropped before Naughty Dog dropped their Twitter update, people were like, I'm not buying this game, all this stuff. I'm like, calm the fuck down, honestly. Like, why? Gamers are little bitches, to put it.
I mean, you can still play Last of Us Remastered Factions mode.
Yeah.
I mean, they shut down the PS3 version.
Well, let's be honest. Who the fuck is buying The Last of Us Part 2 and the first thing they're doing is jumping in the multiplayer? Some sick sons of bitches out there. Buddy Watson. And that'll...
He played the game first. Don't throw him under the bus.
Throwing him under the bus. They'll do it for Last of Us, I think. That's enough Last of Us, yabba yabba.
Sure. For now.
Until next week when they drop something, maybe.
Where it turns out it definitely they'll show the slow-mo footage of Diana getting shot in the head.
Last thing I'll say, PAX in a couple weeks... Bring the demo. I think that the chances that are pretty fucking low, considering they literally just had the press of it. But
especially when they took 3 hours to play through it. Yeah. I don't think. I think they'll show the demo. Like you can go have a look in a booth. They'll have the demo playing.
Media only.
No. I'm just setting people's expectations correctly. It's not going to be at PAX.
Get hyped! Thank you for joining us this week on Platinum Explosion. You can follow me on Twitter at VRVALadil, VRVALadil. You can follow Ash on Twitter at Ashley Hobley, ASHLEYHOBLEY. You can follow this show on Twitter at Plat Podcast. And you can help the show by giving us a review on Apple Podcasts for all the algorithms, our pod chaser. Alternatively, you can just tweet a review and be like, this week's episode was great at Plat Podcast at at Ashley Hobley, and we'll all retweet it, and that's just about as good as anything else. You can join our Discord, chat with us about games, ask for trophy tips, and send in questions or topics for the show, of course, at explosionnetwork.com/discord. And this is a product of the Explosion Network, which you can find many more shows, articles, news, reviews, fancy things. Arcade Couch, which we mentioned before. ExposureNetwork.com. And I suppose because we're only a couple weeks out, we'll also have heaps of PAX coverage going up there. I should begin pimping that now, I suppose. PAX, do the thing. I got my fucking shield arm up, Kieran. You can follow, until next week. Every try counts. Boy.